Welcome, you all. Welcome. I am Baron Baptiste, and you are listening to Disrupting the Drift. I'm here with David Masters. David, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Great to be here with you, Baron.
Yeah, always good to be with you. I have a question that someone had sent in, and I think it's a question that's appropriate for the times we're living in. It's relevant, it's an important question for everyone. And let's get right into this. So, the question is, can you speak to the struggle of life? I find myself feeling like I'm in constant struggle with life and living in a gray, cloudy, foggy world. What is this struggle? And how do I step out of the struggle? It's a very good question.
Love
Do you have
that
any?
question.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you have any?
Well,
What
see,
do you
I,
see?
I, I think it has a lot to do with your perspective or your attitude. Now, let's talk about the author of the Dune series, Frank Herbert. He said, "What has mood to do with it? You fight when the necessity arises, no matter the mood. Mood is a thing for cattle or making love or playing the ballet set. It's not for fighting. You got to get out of this whole thing of allowing your moods to regulate your behavior in your life because moods come and go just like the weather. Get out of the mood mindset and get into a pattern of preparing yourself to deal with the things that are coming at you. And of course, we always go back to, you and I talk about meditation, getting in your center so that you're ready to respond and to be present in the moment where you need to deal with the situation. Now,
Yeah.
that other part of that is that it gives you foresight. It gives you the ability to look ahead and see what's on the horizon and then begin to prepare for that. Now, here's another great quote, and I can't it's an African name, Idoyu Kolyinka. And he says, "Opportunity does not waste time with those who are unprepared." Start to change the way that you think about your life right now and start looking at how you could begin to go down this path of, and I call it conscious process of elimination. Get rid of the stuff that you don't need. Immediately start
Yeah.
getting rid of everything and pull it off to the side and actually begin to make a list. Do a self assessment, make a list. Do I need this? What is the highest priority in my life? And right there, you begin to narrow it down to things that
Yeah.
actually make sense.
Yeah. Decluttering
Yes.
your physical environment, your physical universe. Get clear on often stress when we say, okay, the struggle of life, what is it you're actually struggling with? Is it your own discipline? Is it your health, how you're showing up for yourself? Do you need to get on a yoga mat and move your body? Do you need to get out and walk? Do you need to go get to a gym and lift weights? Move your body and get out in nature. Okay, there's that part. There's a physical, what I like to call the physical presencing. And that creates its own kind of clearing. It takes us for a moment or for a period. It takes us out of all the world of thoughts, the world of the head, the emotions, all the internal states that are just doing their thing. They're like running like a machine. Thoughts, feelings, stories, living in fantasies in the mind, the physical states. Are you operating from just the creature, or are you having a connection? Do you have a line of communication to creator, to higher guidance? And if you sense that it's the universe is all gravitating around you, your universe, the world is gravitating around you, your thoughts, what you feel about it, what all the worries, concerns, you're consumed in a world of what I'll call internal states of the creature, you and identity. So there's that, but clear yourself physically, mentally, in the realm of your being. Get quiet, be still, find quiet time, whether that's in nature or you just sit and you meditate and you let your mind catch up to your body, a physical kind of presencing to the physical universe, creating a clearing of sorts. Then if things are stressing you out, you have to look, you have to pierce the veil. What is it? Is it that your conscience calling you to start getting taking on your life?
Mm.
So coming from ready now, if you're really committed to making a shift and coming out of the struggle, now there will always be a level of struggle. We're always going to be working and dealing with adversity and challenges and difficulties, things that we maybe can see coming. And then those things that just pop up, physical, whether you're dealing with some kind of physical disease or an ailment or something, but the things that you can control, you want to take control. If it's this part of this, what's stressing you out, it's typically going to be people. You're dealing with people. What do you need to do in that realm of dealing with people? Is it certain things like finances, money? Is it certain things like health and your physical well-being and health? Is it dealing with things that more on the practical level that you feel out of control with, so they're stressing you out and creating this general struggle that keeps you in a fog, living in a cloud? You want to come out of the clouds. You want to wake up. You want to get your feet on the earth, and you want to be present. You want to get present to what's actually going on and get Pierce Savale is, if it's financial worry, if it's health, if it's relationships, if it's what's going on in the world, things you cannot control, but you can control how much like news are you taking in and consuming every day? How much social media, other people's thoughts, opinions, are you distracting yourself watching too much TV, or just you're in it, you're drinking, smoking, overeating, finding comfort in things that aren't resolving or giving you control. You basically are just going to live in a constant struggle and a constant state of stress. But if you see that, okay, the things I cannot take control of, can you still be in your center and let those things go? Be present to what you're consuming, what you're taking in, your mental diet. What are you putting into the mind? What are you allowing in? To have that firewall that where you don't just let everything and everyone into your world. If there are people around, there's a lot of talk about oppressor and the oppressed, but often we oppress ourselves. That's typically, you're oppressing yourself. If life is only a struggle, consider you need to take a hard look at where are you oppressing yourself, suppressing your own energy, or keeping yourself around people that drag you down energetically, emotionally, spiritually. You want to have people around you that elevate you. Like our talks here, David. When I'm with you here, we have these kind of conversations where we dig deep into things. I'm left elevated, and I'm committed to having people around me. I have friends visiting from out of town right now, and they're great people. Just being in conversation with them, hanging out with, spending time, the conversations are elevating, and there's lightness, there's joy. It's important to look at your environment. But David, what do you think about the spiritual aspect of this struggle with life? Because there's also an opportunity, is what I want to say. So if you
Yeah.
see the struggle as bad and wrong, and I've just got to get rid of it, that's tough. But if you can see, or a block, its own kind of block, but if you can see whatever you're grappling with as an opportunity, maybe you're a liar, a cheater, maybe you're living an inauthentic existence, an inauthentic life. You're telling people things are one way when really they're another way for you.
Yeah.
But right there, your energy, your life force is cut off. Your joy gets squashed. Your just natural lightness of being is suffocated. But what say you, David, just on the spiritual level, even?
Oh,
Maybe we go spiritual, mental,
yeah.
physical. Yeah.
Here's a quote from Thomas Huxley, and this is very profound.
Yeah.
He says, "Sit down before truth as a little child. Be prepared to give up every preconceived notion. Follow humbly wherever and to
Mm,
whatever abysses nature leads, or you shall learn nothing. I have only begun to
mm,
learn to be content and at peace since I have resolved at all risks to do this." See, here's the idea: is that we are so programmed, and this is always going to be the problem. And this is as a result of, and we talk about the spiritual side of this. Those of us who read our Bibles look back at the story of Adam and Eve, and we see that there was a force in their lives that basically seduced them away from their original knowing. And that knowing was a simple thing. It was just a simple thing, a knowing of what and what not to do. And this is really what it boils down
Hmm.
to. And you have an installed capacity that you were born with to know the difference between what you should and should not do. And that's where it all changes right there.
Mm.
A single choice. Remember, sit down before truth as a little child. Little children are instructable. They are they will follow a proper lead. Are you following a
Or,
proper lead
or,
in your life?
or an improper lead,
Exactly,
not
right.
knowingly, right?
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And see, but
And there is where conflict rises up.
you got it.
When at that point in life where we start doubting our deeper knowing,
Yeah.
our deeper true intuition, that essential conscience, when we start doubting that leading life from a higher living life from a higher guidance, right there when we deviate, right there in that space arises conflict. It
Yeah.
arises greater doubt. In that space, the stress mechanisms rise up, and it's feedback that's telling you, is that called the hound of heaven or something, it's calling you back. Let's come back. You've gone down a wrong path, come back.
Yeah. Look, Shakespeare said this, all things are ready if our mind be so. See, it's us, as you just said. We are in our own way. We are the stumbling block that we need to remove. That's the way we think, the way we've become accustomed to thinking. And we're so programmed that we're like living in a matrix of sorts that we don't realize how much of our thinking is not even original to us. And so when I talk about the conscious process of elimination, every thought that comes at you has the ability for you to actually select and remove it from your conscious awareness. You can simply see that a thought has been put there somewhere, somehow. And when you question, where did that thought come from? Immediately, this process of sorting out the thoughts. See, this is a change strategy, one thought at a time, by becoming aware and also by inclining toward the silence, becoming quiet for a certain amount of time every day, and then learning how to observe your thoughts. Because if you can't observe your thoughts, you can't select your thoughts. Your thoughts are just flooding in. If you're observing your thoughts, it's like watching TV. If somebody else is in control of the remote and you say to them, hey, I don't want to watch that show, but they're not listening to you, that's your brain. Your brain is not going to listen to you. So what you have to do is you have to get quiet. The scripture says, be still and know. If you get quiet for about 20 minutes, a couple times a day, and learn how to just get out of that thought stream, pretty soon you're going to
Hmm.
become aware of the thoughts that are there. And you're going to realize how many of those thoughts are just a bunch of imposed ideas and thoughts that you picked up from your environment. And you begin to say, wait a minute, I don't need that thought. And this is what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's a process of selection and the self-assessment. It's basically what it
Yeah,
boils down to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's very good. You're speaking to the source of stress. Often, something happens, or something happened, or someone says something they shouldn't have said, or you think about something, your finances, or how you're eating food you shouldn't have eaten, or you're over drinking, or you're being a sloth. You're not moving your body. You're not taking care of what you know to take care of. Right there, you get a thought about it, and you start interacting with that thought that it shouldn't be, or I'm a piece of shot. And right there you start interacting with the thought, and right there you go weird. Right there you go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right there. And but you also there have choice, or you have, is it choice, or is it just that knowing not to go that way, to let that go, let those thoughts come, let them go. Now when you start letting things go, when you start giving up to get empty, you're going to have to deal with something. And there's a natural kind of detox. If you've been living a certain way, uh, let's put in if you've been eating certain foods you should not have been, you've been eating too much sugar and junk, putting stuff in your body not to put in. When you stop doing that, you stop putting, your body's going to cry out in like cravings for that. You've built a certain homeostasis. and you're going to have to deal with the pains of that detoxification. When you stop just interacting with the thoughts, those random stressful thoughts that are coming in, when you stop interacting with those, right there, you may have some peace, but you also have there lots of debris, leftover debris, that homeostasis where those thoughts have become a comfort zone, living in stress and drama, and it's its own kind of comfort zone, but it's a comfort zone of the known. It's familiar, and that's part of the problem. It's familiar and known, so it's comfortable. But when you go into a place of suddenly not engaging with that, you again are having to deal with the detox of that, the craving and boredom, even, because it's like your thoughts and your stories tell you who you are. They give you a place to stand. They're a false kind of power, in a sense. They give you a false sense of security, but when you give those up, suddenly you have no security, that you have no certainty. You're standing in the unknown, and in an abyss, even, and to be willing to be in that place, in that space within yourself, and grapple with it, and maybe that's where you put in actions that are in opposition to those old ways of being, those old ways of acting. You want to put in actions that are in opposition to the old ways of acting and being, in a
Yeah.
sense.
You
Something,
know,
yeah.
yeah. I
Does
will
that
I
make,
will
yeah, go ahead.
totally makes sense. And what is occurring to me as you're speaking is I'm thinking of the Star Wars trilogy, essentially, where there's a point where we're introduced to the Padawan, which are the young Jedi that are being trained. They go to school and they're trained in the ways of the Force. And what's so interesting about that is that if you look at the contrast between the way that we are raised now in this and have been for the last, let's say, 50 years in this country, we are put into a mill, like a conveyor belt mill of the popular culture. And it doesn't matter from decade to decade as it changes. The children are still being put into the processes of learning to be what the popular culture tells them to do. And this is where we go back to the spiritual component. If you're going to be a Shaolin monk, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you are preparing all the time. If you're going to be a martial artist, if you're going to be good at anything in your life, you're going to be in a constant state of preparation. And Samuel Taylor Coleridge said this. He said, he who prepares he who best prepared can best serve his moment of inspiration. We are not prepared. We haven't been. We have been laid out by the forces around us. We've been completely constructed from the culture, the popular culture, the environment, the things that our family passes on to us. So there's a renegade aspect of every person that breaks away from the group, from the cult, from the tribe, and begins to think for themselves. And so thinking for yourself, again, I like to go back to the Bible. There's a lot in the Bible, but the admonition to be still and know is really where it all begins. And the be still and know is actually a preparation for knowing. If your mind is constantly going, constantly churning, constantly getting input from the outside world, there's no time for the preparation that comes from within. And that, by the way, that preparation is intuition. And much of it is revealed to you without even trying to figure it out. Intuition literally means to know without reasoning. So I'll throw it back to you on that one.
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's what comes to mind as you're speaking is the we have these internal states, thoughts, feelings, emotions, images, physical processes. And if all of our attention is on that and trying to get that settled, that handled, that calmed down, you may be looking in the wrong place. If you allow the internal states, all those thoughts, feelings, emotions, physical processes, if you allow them to just be, and then you be about what you need to be about, you do the things you know to do, those internal states will either dissipate, disappear, or they won't go anywhere maybe, but they're in the background. But you're doing the right thing. You're following the light on your path. And maybe you only see there's enough light to see the next step to take, but you take that step. And again, it will be in opposition to the usual default ways of acting and being and seeing and interpreting life in that from the head and from all the internal states. But then you're acting in the face of whatever it is to do. You're acting in the face of whatever the things internally that are trying to stop you. So there are things externally that attempt to stop us, but we're not talking about that right here. We're talking about our own internal struggles. And
Yeah.
if you stop that saying, within us are two wolves, and whichever one feed, you strengthen,
Yep.
but you begin to feed the wolf of virtue, the wolf of possibility, the wolf of vitality and power, like authentic power, freedom, where a different self arises, emerges. If you're giving into that weak wolf, the wolf of doubt, of darkness, of stress and drama and all the internal states, if they're in a negative place, you want to step out of that place and you
Mm.
want to just step in front of it
Yeah.
and do what there is to do, and that's where faith comes in. You trust that something higher, something greater has your back, that your creator, God, will keep shining the light upon your path, giving you the next step or maybe the next 3 steps. And you take those 3 steps and maybe you fall a few steps back. Maybe you get sucked back into thoughts and worry. Just get off that path, come back, see the light on your path, the next step to take, the next right step. I
Hmm.
know, even just in a practical sense, like every morning, how I begin my day makes a difference for each day, the moments in each day. Just I wake up and just sit quietly for 10 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, sit quietly and pray. Just to start out my day. I'm a wholly different human being. It clears something. It creates a line of communication to not only all the thoughts, emotions, feelings, the things that I don't want to guide me. I get have a clear line of communication there, but then I have a clearer line of communication to my that inner guidance, my conscience, that knowing of what to do. And then just setting the day. I'll get outside, I'll walk, or I'll go and lift weights, I'll move my body, I'll get on the yoga mat a few times a week and go through a whole yoga practice. I set my day in a sense that, and that gives me something to measure up by noon or 1 p.m. when I'm working in my business or working, dealing with people and different things. I have this measure, this connection that I established that day. And it's cumulative day after day, month after month. It starts to create a new way of living, a new way of not only showing up for life, but it creates the context, so to speak, of how life shows up for me, how life shows up and how I respond to life or how I respond to people, things, situations. How life shows up for me is different, not because those things in life are different, but because I'm different. I'm coming from a different place in myself, not because I'm lucky, but because I've committed to that.
So the philosopher Philo of Alexandria said, "The wise are superb observers of nature and rise superior to the blows of fortune." Now, if we aren't good observers, first of all, luck favors the prepared. So there's nobody out there that is going to experience luck except for by chance, by absolute sheer chance that the good things happen to them. Other people on the other side of that, who are keen observers, first of themselves and then of other things, they begin to see patterns in everything. And what we don't understand about ourselves is our biggest stumbling block. So, because we lack the ability to observe the thoughts that come into our mind, we lack the ability to see the patterns that have established themselves within us. We lack the objectivity and the be still and knownness of things. Then all of a sudden, we are at the effect of all these different causes in our life. And again, We're looking at being prepared. And here's what Louis Pasteur said: in the fields of observation, chance favors only the prepared mind. There is no such thing as actually good fortune that doesn't come about as a result of a person who is looking toward the things that allow for it. Because if we're not looking toward the things that allow for good fortune, we are actually looking away from it. See, there's a contrast that we can't really decide how it's going to turn out. But the contrast here is that either we are an observer, or the opposite of being an observer is we are subject. And if we're subject to all the things that we're dealing with every day in every way, we are subjects of those things, as opposed to being objective to those things and being separate from those things. We are under the control of those things. And again, the preparation starts within. It starts in your mind, it starts in your heart, in your soul. The preparation is that one moment where you catch something that's going through your mind and say, wait a minute, where did that come from? That's the moment where that's where of positive, the domino effect of positive things begins to take effect. The moment you become aware and you become the observer is the moment where you have actually choices about who you want and don't want to be. As long as you're not being an observer, as long as you're allowing the world to flood in the screen door on the submarine, it just comes in, you're constantly swimming against this force of energy and thought and all this immersive stuff that you're getting into. And I tell you, get away from social media, because your social media actually influences, they found out that these thumbs up, these likes that you get on Facebook and other social media, it's actually been compared to like a dopamine hit that gives you a feeling like you're high. So get away from all this stuff. Get away from the validation of the world. Get away from it. Go back to the be still and knownness of things. And what'll happen is a whole new world will open up for you, Baron.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I get that. I think the social media thing's interesting. There's a lot of good that can be there in social media around connecting to people and just sharing life, and it's like a communal environment, and it can be positive. But there's so much also on the flip side, toxicity, and it's not a real world, right? It's where, even on the positive side, it doesn't replace what's really connected, like really connected in humanity and human beings. It There's a loss of nuance, there's a loss of just real interaction. On social media, you have these people that are in person, that are basically hiding out in the wallpaper, people that in person are like the quiet ones, the ones that are maybe looking through eyes of envy, or there's something off about them. Those people have gotten very loud on social media, and it's almost like some primitive part of the brain has given people who, if you were in person with these people, they wouldn't show this side of themselves. They hide it. But on social media, you have they come after, they target people, they vomit just dark negativity, all this, they create division, they cancel you, they say things that about you, about something that's not based in any reality. It's purely designed to tear down, take down, to it's spiritual looting, in a sense, mental, spiritual looting. And what you're saying, David, about people wanting the addiction you get from the likes or the agreement, it's all a facade.
Yeah.
Not living by that. But as is all these people who tear you down, or all the tear down toxicity on social media, it's also a facade. It's
Mhm.
not real. And people aren't being real there. So you want to not get lost in that world, because that will be, again, it's a disassociation from reality, from truth, and therefore you separate in within yourself when you give that power, something like that social media and toxic. When you give that power and you get some kind of high, some part of the primitive brain, or yeah, you're getting dopamine hits, it's not real. It's a false, it's an illusion, it's a false reality that ends up dividing yourself internally. So it comes back to: watch what you allow in. Watch, observe. Be the observer, and also be the actor. Someone who takes real actions in your life that line you up to what I'll call your true north, your calling, your higher calling. And it's not one of noise and negativity and breaking things down. In fact, when you're living your real life in your most empowered way, you will be empowered. You'll be prepared for whatever comes at you in the external world. Stop giving the external world so much power. Be in the world, not of it. All right, I think this is a good place to let's wrap up right here. Any last thoughts, David?
Yeah, just one last thought, which is this: let go.
Yeah.
And when I say that, when you let go, you're going to actually let loose. And because what you're losing is your potential. But right now, as you're holding on to this world that's been built for you by other people's ideas and thoughts and input, you're constricted. You have the chains of those people's beliefs. Let them go. Now, it doesn't mean good things. I'm talking about the things that do not serve you. And I want to make a point here from this author, Catherine Morgan Schaffler. She's wrote the book, The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control, A Path to Peace and Power. She says this: when you ruminate, you mistake replay for reflection. When you catastrophize, you mistake worrying for preparation. It's all upside down and backward. Right now, everything in your life is upside down and backward. Let go and release what is coming ahead of you to be the person that you really want to be, that you were meant to be.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah, let go. Life always comes down to letting go.
Yeah.
Giving things up. Give up what you must. Develop the muscle called letting go. And maybe you're a babe at that, like you haven't developed the muscle yet, but by practicing that, doing that, giving up the thoughts, giving up those people, giving up those things that oppress, that suppress you, you're giving away your power. Start giving things up internally, externally. Let things go, get clear, and then follow the light upon your path. You see what to do it. If there's something to say it. If there's nothing to, don't do it.
Yeah.
If there's nothing to say, don't say anything, but keep moving. As Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Stay blessed, stay true, stay safe, and stay prepared spiritually, mentally, physically, in every way. Stay prepared. The world we're going into a winter. It seems like we're in the fall right now, the season called fall. The leaves are falling and things are changing rapidly. And we could easily be going into a spiritual winter more on the global collective world level. So you want to now's the time to really step up and prepare yourself for whatever happens. And David, always good to be with you. Everyone, please share the show. It's how we grow. This show is through you. Also, we post some of these on YouTube. Baron Baptiste Podcast is a YouTube channel, Baron Baptiste Podcast. And like or comment, leave your comments. You could leave your questions in the comments on YouTube or email your questions to disrupting the drift at Baron Baptiste, disrupting the drift at Baron Baptiste. All right, y'all. Peace out.